Hey folks, this isn't easy to say. It's something that's been a long time coming. I've been putting a lot of thought into this, but best just get out and say it. It's time to reboot the PCG universe. Let's talk about it. Yeah, so this is something I've talked it over with Chris. We've worked this all out, and yeah, we have decided it is time to reboot. And I know this is really hard. We've decided to throw out pretty much all the continuity of all the paper computer games we've made over the past few decades, really, and all the new games you guys have added onto it. All of it is getting rebooted. All of my PCGs, all of Chris's PCGs, all those adventures, with Zack, Zuvak, Tutorial Bot, Ginkus, all of them that we've had over all the years, the history that they've developed, that like how, characters have gotten to know each other, how characters have, grown and changed and faced new challenges. It is a lot we're giving up. And, I fully understand that. This is a universe that's been going on since we were kids. That, without, and I think that is an incredible record. That should be celebrated. That is something to be proud of. That a story we started back then could have continued to grow this whole time. But, things have to change. We have to move into the future. And really, let's face it. If I'm being brutally honest with myself, it's time for paper computer games to grow up. Look, PCGs have just been getting really convoluted. They still have all these sort of childish concepts in them, There's a race of guys that are like literal stick figures. There's aliens called figs. There's a fat guy, which is, funny when you're 6 years old in your PCGs, but are you really going to have that as part of your serious universe you're putting forward? This is your DC and Marvel, you're having the fat guy. And beyond that, things are just getting really complicated. There's just so many different universes, so many different stories. People aren't clear, how anything starts or where to start off. And it's hard to introduce new people to this universe since, they haven't played the original games. Like most of you guys haven't played the games we played as a kid, so you don't know where Zuvak came from or any of that stuff. So, yeah, I think it's a perfect time to start fresh, start from a new beginning so that you guys can see how the story takes shape. It's really sad. I know. I've worked so much on this universe. It's hard to turn away from it, it's hard to imagine, but at the same time, the idea of what we could have if we created a new universe now, starting from scratch, building it for the first time, and getting it right this time, not having all those ridiculous childish elements, that we, why am I still holding on to this stuff, from our childhood? We should have a modern, believable PCG universe. And to that end, I am prepared to announce my brand new slate of new paper computer games set in the new rebooted PCG universe. And I hope you guys will see these games are still going to be true to what paper computer games are, but they're going to do it in a new way, a new reimagined way. And we're going to, bring it down to earth, but at the same time, in some ways, go back to the roots of paper computer games. So let me show you these concepts and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so the first game is called Zack Origin. So this is retelling the origin story of Zack, the main character of the original paper computer games, from the beginning, but we're gonna do it differently. So this time, Zack starts as a young adult. In the original universe, Zack started as a kid, because that's, we were kids when we first started making the games. But, that's ridiculous. A kid wouldn't be going on adventures like that. Like, that's unsafe. So this new Zack is going to start as a young adult, and he has been hired by the company, except, you know, the company isn't a very realistic name for a company. So in this new universe, I'm calling them corporate, right? So Zack is a young, he's a young guy working for corporate, but as he, you know, starts to work for them, you know, at first he was enthusiastic, but the more he finds out about what they're doing, he starts to get more skeptical of it, and he might even rethink, you know, working for them. So you play as Zack, and you have to, you know, find out what is going on with the company. So that's the first game. The second game is called Corporate Identity. Now this is sort of a spin-off of the first one, but this one is like, it's not with Zack, but it continues with corporate, and we're gonna explore what corporate really is. Like in the original universe, the company was just, you know, they were doing all these ridiculous evil schemes, like trying to take over the world, you know, contacting alien civilizations. I mean, real corporations don't really do that, but there are a lot of bad things they do. So this game is going to explore, you know, actual corporate corruption, you know, how companies can, you know, be corrupt, how they can, you know, squash out smaller businesses. And we're gonna explore, like, you're gonna get to play as a member of corporate who is, you know, a voice for, you know, the little guy, like trying to, but there's like different factions within the corporation pushing for corporate to move in different directions. So you're gonna get to see, you know, a complex, multifaceted version of the company. Then we've got Corporate Monopoly. This game is going to be another spin-off. Once again, it's about corporate, but this time it's going to be corporate in a new, like, basically where it's going to be from the perspective of a small business who's about to be crushed by corporate, and you have to try to keep your business afloat, you know, in the face of corporate having all the power and using all these dirty tactics to put you out of business. So really, it's, you know, it's a very real game that lots of it's a realistic take on what lots of small businesses across America, and indeed the world, have to deal with. But, you know, so I am reducing the amount of, you know, science fiction in this, because, I mean, there will be science fiction. Don't worry, there will be like some aliens and cool stuff like that. But, you know, like this stuff, the Zack stuff, I want to bring it, you know, sort of back down to earth. Like in these corporate games, it's gonna be mostly just like, you know, Zack versus a company, you know, so like everything in those games is gonna be like possible in real life. I should mention, because of that, like Zuvak is not gonna be in it, right? So I know Zuvak is a beloved character. He's one of the most beloved PCG characters out there, but, like, let's face it though, I mean, he's not a very believable character, is he? I mean, let's face the elephant in the room, you know, he is a clown on a stick, you know, that is true. He is that. So it made more sense to just, you know, get rid of him entirely. And I know that's hard, but I feel like, you know, if I was going to rebuild this universe from scratch, I had to be bold. I had to do this in a bold way. And that meant I had to be willing to get rid of anything, no matter how central it was to PCGs, in order to rebuild PCGs in a new and exciting way. And, you know, there will probably still be like little Easter eggs, call outs to Zuvak, but, you know, a corporation wouldn't really build something like that. It doesn't really make sense. So yeah, there won't be any Zuvak for now. But don't worry, there will be science fiction, like I said. That brings us to our next game, Harbinger. Harbinger is, you know, it's the first game that, like, on the slate that's not connected directly to the Zack and corporate and all that stuff. This is more of a science fiction game. Harbinger is where you play as an alien but you know, none of the alien races that we've seen so far in the old PCG universe, it's because, you know, a lot of them are like ridiculous names like Zoofadoof, you know, Spaceballs, and you know, stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna get rid of that, and instead it's gonna be a new alien races, and you play as an alien, and you're trying to find a way to stop a secret alien invasion. Like, another race of aliens is taking over human bodies, and you play as an alien who's hiding among humans, but you're like a good alien, and you have to, you know, try and warn people. But you know, like, you like, in the game, you're not gonna see the true form of the, you know, of your alien that much. It's gonna be mostly in human form. So even though there's a science fiction, you know, story to it, it is, you know, the aesthetic of it is still very down to earth. So it's gonna still feel like part of the real world. You know, I wanted every, you know, game in this universe to feel very real, very immediate. So the next game is called The Discovery, and this one is, you know, sort of inspired by, like, this is going to be another sci-fi game, but this one is going to be inspired by, you know, the space program, right? Now, the Discovery is where, you know, this takes place like maybe 10 years from now, and it's like the first NASA astronauts to land on Mars. And as you guys know, of course, in the recent PCG streams, Mars has been, you know, this ridiculous place with a pink to green gradient in the sky for a sky, and, you know, weird like bug people, and like a moon with a face, and yeah, it like, all of that's got to go, obviously. That like, it feels ridiculous. It doesn't feel real. As much as I love it, you know, it doesn't feel like the real world. So the Discovery is gonna bring us a new vision of Mars, where you know, it's the first NASA astronauts landing on Mars and setting up the first Mars base colony, basically, which is like a small series of just little capsules, basically, barely enough room for, you know, people to sleep and stuff like that. But while they're on Mars, they make a discovery of some ancient alien technology that was left behind by visitors centuries ago. And what does that mean? And we're going to get into the politics of it. You know, like, how does the world react to finding alien tech like that? So that's going to be an interesting game. And the next one, this is one might seem familiar, like from the old PCG universe. We've got the first of the Xarelta. Now, as you may recall, like in the old PCG universe, we had the last of the Xarelta. That was about Ginkis, and he's the king of the Xarelta nation on the planet Shree right before it falls. But I had to really work, you know, I tried to find a way to make that fit within this new realistic PCG universe, but I mean, if you really get into it, it just doesn't make sense. Like the planet Shree, it's like a planet entirely inhabited by, you know, humans, basically. Like, why would there be another planet out there inhabited by humans? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And also, you know, Ginkis with his power staff, and there's energy shooting out of it. But yeah, like, it's a bit much. So I wanted to, like, I considered making it an alien world, but with, you know, with different aliens, and that was a possibility. But I still might do that. But the first of the Xarelta is not going to be about that. Like, so I'm bringing Xarelta, the name Xarelta, to Earth, and instead, like, it's going to preserve the same spirit of the Xarelta nation from the planet Shree, but it's going to be a subculture on Earth. So the first of the Xarelta is where you're going to have to be like a hacker who starts an internet culture here on Earth, and he's going to call that internet culture the Xarelta. And it's going to be very true to who the Xarelta are that you know from the old PCG universe, but it's going to be, you know, instead of a nation on an alien planet, it's going to be, you know, an internet subculture. So, yeah. Then the next game, we've got a new Ghosts game, but this is, you know, a reinterpretation of the Ghosts franchise. We're going to have This is called Ghosts Hunters. It's, you know, inspired by both Ghosts, the PCG, and Ghost Hunters, the TV series. And basically, because, you know, like, playing as a ghost, and, you know, there's all these ghost rules, and, you know, like, everything's a ghost, statues are ghosts. I mean, it's a bit much, you know. We don't even know if ghosts really exist in real life, so, you know, it kind of stretches your credulity. So, in the new game, Ghost Hunters, we're going with the idea that instead of playing as a ghost, you're playing as a ghost hunter. You know, there have been reports of ghosts in this mansion, and you have to go investigate and, you know, find clues of ghosts. And of course, you know, just like in real life, you know, it's sort of part of your job to kind of like make it look more like there's a ghost. Even if you don't find as much evidence, you know, whatever evidence you do find, you have to make it look more dramatic than it is. You know, if you hear a little thing in the pipe, you have to, you know, make a big deal out of it. Like, you're going into this mansion, and so playing in this game, you have to do research on the previous inhabitants in this mansion, and you have to find something in the history of this mansion that you can, you know, say that's probably where the ghosts are coming from. And it could be hard, you know, like you'll like look at the previous owners, and it's just like, oh, they just moved out, you know. But then you have to do like extensive research, like go to the library to find family records, and eventually you're gonna find somebody, you know, among there who died in or near the mansion. You know, whether it was part of the family, whether it was some servant who worked there at the time and died, you know, maybe while they weren't physically in the mansion, but they were working in the mansion and they died during that time. And you can, you know, kind of make the connection, and in your documentary, you can just, you know, not mention that, he wasn't physically in the mansion at the time, you know, like just leave that part out. So yeah, it's your job in this game to kind of look for, look for ghosts and basically create a ghost narrative. So I felt like that was a more realistic depiction of ghosts than the current Ghosts PCGs. But there is going to be some connection to the ghosts, you know, because guess what? This is the Fog Whistle Mansion. Now, does Fog Whistle exist as a ghost in this universe? Well, probably not, but we're going to make it mysterious, you know? There might be some actual hints that there might be a real ghost here, but there won't be enough to confirm it or anything like that. If anything, it'll just be hints. Next up, we've got Arena Negotiations. This is based on Salmon on the Fish's PCG Arena Battles, and in the original Arena Battles, you know, you can talk to shopkeepers, and they can sell you any weapon you can imagine, and that you then use to fight in a series of boss battles. And, well, don't get me wrong, that game is awesome, and is available now on the PCG shop, by the way. Link in the description. But yeah, it's also not very realistic, though. I mean, if you go to a shop in real life, they don't have anything you could imagine. You know, you go to a shop and they have particular things, you know. So like I wanted to keep the spirit of that, but, you know, bring it into a more realistic, grounded kind of universe. So instead of that, I'm gonna make it like, I'm calling it Arena Negotiations, because you have to negotiate with, you know, politicians behind the scenes to explore, you know, the real implications of, you know, gladiatorial combat. You know, like, if you're fighting somebody in an arena, it's not as simple as they just put you in an arena and you fight. You know, there's all sorts of negotiations that go on behind the scenes among politicians and, you know, whatever, you know, and based on how, you know, what they think is going to be popular, you know, they'll like give like maybe better weapons and better armor to the person they want to win, or they'll have, you know, they'll feed one of the combatants better for the week before the battle, so it'll give the appearance of a fair fight, but, you know, like it won't actually be like, so you play as one of the combatants, but you have to negotiate with the, you know, behind the scenes politicians and stuff like that to make things possible for you, you know, and so metaphorically they can make things possible for you if you negotiate with them. So it's kind of like the shopkeepers in the original arena battles, but more realistic, more down to earth, so I think that fits better with our new PCG universe. So yeah, the next game is Hurricanebrus. Hurricanebrus. This is sort of like based on AnStaree's game Tenebrous. And as you know, in the original Tenebrous, you have to fight against storm spirits, like powerful entities with like storm powers. But like in the new game, Hurricanebrus, I wanted to keep the basic, the spirit of Tenebrous, that you're fighting sort of against these storm entities, but realistically, just fighting in an impersonation of a storm, like that wouldn't really happen in real life. So, but I wanted to bring the closest real life, realistic version of that. So, and the realistic version is people do have to fight, the weather. The weather is hard to deal with, and I thought, wow, what an opportunity, So basically, like, there's a hurricane coming, and you have to fortify your settlement against the hurricane, so like you're still fighting against, you have to fight against the storm, and then in the next level you have to fight against, so it's gonna be like some real world version of all the same bosses that you fought in Tenebrous, only now you're fighting against the actual thing, and you're dealing with the implications of that, how are people affected when their homes are torn down by a tornado, and just as a nod to the original, there might be a pineapple flying around at the top of that tornado. But that's gonna be the only connection to the original Tenebrous. So yeah, the next game is called Killbot Activate. That is based on the Spaceballs mythology, from Kurt. But I thought I wanted to boil Spaceballs down to its essentials. Spaceballs, is a kind of a game that goes all over the place. It's kind of, goes to an alien world, and you meet all these weird creatures, and it's kind of over the top, So first of all, and I know this is hard, I know you guys all like Tutorial Bot, but I took out Tutorial Bot because look, I know, first Zuvak, now this, I know, but once again, we do have to be bold, we have to be willing to throw out anything, and be willing to reimagine anything, no matter how popular it is, I have to do what's right for this story. So yeah, we're getting rid of Tutorial Bot because why would he exist? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would there be a flying tutorial bot that gives bad tutorials? Like that. Who would build that? But at the core of Spaceballs, I think, is a very interesting story, which is that, this evil collector, captures people and makes them go through a weird game. So I'm getting rid of the aspect where that takes place on an alien planet. That's not really necessary. I'm also taking out the Spaceballs themselves because they're a bit ridiculous too. They're like super deadly animals basically, but they're wearing armor, and shooting laser guns, dude, come on. So basically the role that Tutorial Bot used to have, in the original Spaceballs, you meet Tutorial Bot in the cell that you wake up in without any memories. This time you still wake up in a cell without any memories, but this time it's with a more specific purpose. You're going to be experimented on, and Killbot is the robot created to guard you. Now the thing is, in the original game, Killbot was a guy, one of the stick figure people. In this new universe, there's no guys anymore. They're all just people. So Killbot is now a cyborg, you know, made of a person, like a former victim like yourself, who's been slowly, you know, transitioned, like his human parts have been removed one by one, even many parts of his brain, until he's now more machine than man. But you have to try to, you know, get through to his humanity to get him on your side, and that's ultimately how you're gonna escape. So it still feels true to the original Spaceballs, like in the intent of it, but like it's a very different, you know, kind of story. A more, you know, I've boiled it down to its essentials, and I think that's gonna make it a much tighter story. So the next game we have is going to be called War of the Bucket Backyard Mayhem. Now, so the original War of the Bucket by Cold Brooding Werewolf, like in that game, like a massive war breaks out over a bucket. That doesn't sound very realistic. I mean, it's a good metaphor and everything for like, but like for the pointlessness of war, but like, you know, as something that would actually happen in the PCG universe, that doesn't sound very realistic. So, you know, like I wanted to find a way to rework the basic concept and keep it but like bring it into the new realistic PCG universe. So this game is going to be called War of the Bucket Backyard Mayhem. Instead of like a full war, this is going to be, you know, at a community center. There's a bunch of teens hanging out, or like kids or teens or whatever, and they are going to get into a war over a bucket. But it's, you know, it's not a real war. It's like a you know, game war. You know, like that used to happen to me. We would like get into little wars amongst. We'd form like factions and like throw golf balls at each other. I don't know. So it's gonna be like a fun backyard kind of war. So this is gonna be like a fun, you know, low stakes game. You know, like it's not a, you know, serious thing. It's just you're playing as kids, and it's basically just kids having fun with each other, fighting over a bucket. But, you know, just because it's like kids and there's no real stakes doesn't mean it's not, you know, a serious game. You could, like, kids can come to care about, you know, stuff like that, like who wins in a game very seriously. So, you know, you're gonna get really into this, this, like, even though it's not a real war, it's gonna feel like a real war of the bucket. So yeah, in the next game we've got Squids in Forests, Predator and Prey. So this is another, like, a reboot of the Squids in Forests series. Now, the original Squids in Forests is like Ari on a forest in an alien world, and there's all this ancient technology. But, you know, I wanted to boil it, like, Squids in Forests series down to its essentials. And instead of that, like, it's going to be Ari, you know, just going for a walk on Earth, you know, just on a walk in the woods on Earth. And, you know, for a while he thinks it's normal, except then, like, an escaped mountain lion starts chasing him, or like, hunting him, stalking him. So, see, that ties into how in the third game, fried calamari, there's like a statue creature hunting Ari through the forest. But yeah, I thought I'd reimagine that as a mountain lion, so that it's, you know, it's more believable, and it's just you know, a very realistic thing. You know, like, if there was a mountain lion loose, you'd be like, oh shoot, how do I get away? I'm in the middle of the woods, and like the mountain lion is between me and my car, so I can't just make a run for it. The mountain lion's faster. So you have to rely on your creativity and your ingenuity to get past, you know, to find a way to, you know, navigate through the woods with a mountain lion tracking you and stalking you the whole way. You have to constantly fool the mountain lion and try to get him off your tail and just get back to the car. There's no ancient ruins, there's no alien, you know, none of that. That's, you know, it's just you, the woods, and a mountain lion. So it's going to be a very powerful, I hope, experience, and a very down-to-earth experience, and it's going to fit in perfectly with the new PCG universe while still remaining true to its roots, I think. So then we've got the next game is called Fig Industries. Now, obviously, that's a nod to my my PCG characters, the Figs. You know, the alien race that is, you know, they don't think they deserve anything. but you know, it's not very. I mean, first of all, they're named after figs, which is a fruit, and you know. Yeah, it's a bit over the top. I didn't want to keep them as actual aliens, so I think in the new PCG universe there aren't going to be any figs. But, you know, instead of that, Fig Industries is like you're actually playing at like a company that is selling actual figs, and they're genetically modifying the figs, and so you play as one person in the Fig Industries company. Now, see, the thing is, a lot of the higher-ups in Fig Industries think that, you know, like, the people who eat the figs, like, don't deserve, you know, see what I did there? Like, don't deserve, yeah, like, if they think that the people don't deserve, you know, good quality nutrition, and you think you're, like, the one guy in the Fig Industries company saying, listen, people do deserve, you know, to be like to have good nutrition. So we should put the correct nutrients in the figs. And everyone else is like, nah, people don't deserve anything. Humanity is basically a waste. So it's sort of like an ideological, you know, like you have to prove to them in this game when you're playing as this guy that, you know, it's worth it to put good nutrients in the figs as you genetically modify them. So then, yeah, finally, that brings us to my final game on the slate for now, but there's going to be more games announced as time goes on. This is called The Globotron. This is, of course, my new version of my classic PCG Balzac Globotron, which is like the biggest PCG I've ever done. This one is going to be a lot shorter and, you know, more to the point. So basically, like, you know, in the original Balzac Globotron, you know, Balzac Globotron is a guy who's made up of metallic spheres held together by electromagnetism on another you know, in outer space, and he has to travel across the, yeah, we're getting rid of all of that. I'm reimagining, like, he's not going to be Balzac Globotron anymore. Now it's just the Globotron, and the Globotron, it's still spherical. So but it's instead of a lot of little spheres connected, now it's just like one big sphere. And the Globotron is going to be, you know, basically a supercomputer. Like, it's been developed as the most powerful computer on Earth. And there might be some hints that it has, like, little pieces of alien technology included in it, but it is built on Earth, and it's just like one giant sphere, and it's a computer. And the Globotron has been designed to, you know, solve some of humanity's greatest problems, but ultimately it is going to, you know, we're going to slowly realize that the Globotron might be so powerful it's starting to have a mind of its own. Like, it's starting to, you know, and like, what does that mean, you know? And that's going to really address, like, as we get closer, as our computers get more powerful, are we going to create AI, and what is that going to mean for us? You know, like, what could a supercomputer do that has thoughts of its own, but also is able to easily manipulate, you know, the stock market, easily manipulate, you know, the internet, you know, our technology. So, you know, like, you play as somebody who works in the company that's creating the Globotron, and you have to decide, you know, whether to shut it down. Basically, you have to find out what to do. So yeah, folks, that is my list of like upcoming paper computer game concepts that are going to be part of this new exciting rebooted PCG universe. I hope you guys will join me and create your own games as part of the new rebooted PCG universe. Like, I can't wait. This is gonna be the coolest thing. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to getting started. I can't wait to release the first game, which of course is going to be Zack Origins. I'm excited, and I can't wait to bring PCGs in a new direction. It's going to be unlike anything you've seen from paper computer games so far. Let's do this!